Colorado has a choice. Tonight, the two Democratic candidates in the race for governor take on the biggest issues facing Colorado, including affordability.
It's very difficult and expensive to live here.
We need multifamily, we need more affordable housing.
Finding a way to work with the federal government regardless of who's in the White House.
Poorly run state of Colorado with a governor who's incompetent.
We know that Colorado has been traditionally attacked because we are a blue state.
Nationally, the Democrats are definitely going through an identity crisis.
And how their leadership will help shape the party and Colorado's future. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser and U.S. Senator Michael Bennet are vying to be Colorado's next governor. The gubernatorial Democratic primary debate is presented by Denver 7, the Denver Post, and Colorado Public Radio. Live from Denver 7 studios, here's your host, Shannon Ogden.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's debate. To our candidates and to the studio audience, welcome to the Denver 7 studios, everyone. Now, this is an important night for Colorado. The first major televised debate between the two candidates for Democrats vying to be Colorado's next governor. And tonight's debate is being broadcast not only here in the Denver Metro, but also from Scripps News Group's Colorado Springs television station, KOAA, and across Colorado Public Radio's statewide network, covering about 80% of our state. So it is a big night. First, some rules. So candidates, you will have 60 seconds to answer questions, 30 seconds to respond to follow-ups, and we have a countdown clock, as we showed you before, to keep you honest, and a bell will sound when time is up. If your opponent references you in an answer, you may have 30 seconds for a rebuttal. Now, I'd like to introduce tonight's moderators. Denver 7's political reporter, Colette Bordelon in the center. Colorado Public Radio's Ryan Warner in the snazzy bow tie there, Ryan. And from the Denver Post, Nick Coltrane. Thank you all for being here. Now, in a coin toss before the debate tonight, Mr. Bennet won and chose to give his closing statement last. Therefore, Mr. Weiser will get tonight's first question. And with all that out of the way, let's begin. The first question from Ryan Warner. Ryan?
Our goal tonight is to help voters distinguish between you as much as possible. So you've been running against each other for more than a year now. Do some of the lifting for voters. What's the biggest difference between you when it comes to state policy? Mr. Weiser.
Ryan, the biggest difference is our campaign is rooted in Colorado and defending Colorado. I know in Washington, D.C., sometimes there's pressure to go along, and Senator Bennett's voted for more of Trump's cabinet than almost any Democrat in the Senate, including people I know will talk about, Brooke Rollins, for example, the agriculture secretary, who's withheld SNAP benefits from Coloradans. 600,000 Coloradans would have gone hungry. I stood up. That's what Colorado does. We fight for each other and got those individuals their food assistance. I also believe in standing up for people against big tech, against big pharma. I'll always fight for Colorado. My experience is rooted here in Colorado. I'm ready to be governor. I've got comprehensive plans, a blueprint for the future, and a campaign powered by Coloradans. This campaign comes down to a choice. The candidate of Colorado or the candidate who's from the Washington, D.C. establishment.
Mr. Bennet.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you all for being here, and I'm very grateful for the people at home that have tuned in, because I think this is an incredibly important moment in American history and in Colorado's history. My wife Susan is the one that brought us to Colorado. I followed her because she had the first job of the two of us, and we were able to move here, and we have lived the American dream in Colorado. We were able to buy a starter home here, raise our 3 children here, our 3 daughters, and now I'm deeply worried that for Coloradans all over this state, in rural and urban Colorado, the American dream is out of reach. There are too many folks who believe that there is no way their kids are going to be able to afford to live in this state. I think that it is critically important that we have a governor with the experience, as I have, of running tough organizations, balancing very tough budgets, and telling the truth even when I've been in disagreement with my own party, because I think we have to stop coloring inside the lines to restore the American dream here in Colorado.
Gentlemen, those were fine introductory statements. They were not necessarily an answer to the question. So I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds to state a very clear policy difference on the state level between you. This is critical to voters. Mr. Weiser.
I believe it matters if you've got the right policies and plans. Take public safety, take water. We've got a Colorado blueprint. It's 107 pages. You can read about it at philforcolorado.com. I've got comprehensive plans on water because I've got experience on how we deal with water in Colorado. I've got comprehensive plans on public safety because I've got that experience. Senator Bennet doesn't have plans on either of those critical topics. That's a big difference in this race.
And Mr. Bennet, 30 seconds for you as well on a state-level policy difference.
I think it's state, Ryan, to me, my emphasis on restoring the American dream in Colorado, making sure that it's affordable, making sure that our kids can actually afford to live here and don't feel like they're being driven out of here. That is my focus, and that's a very different focus than Phil Weiser's, who's spending his time already attacking my record tonight. By the way, I have voted against, for the record, 95% of Trump's nominees and voted for the Ag Secretary because her department is so important to protecting us against wildfire.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you. This is a question specifically for Mr. Weiser. A conservative legal group has been racking up victory after victory at the U.S. Supreme Courts on Colorado cases regarding social issues. Are they exploiting an Achilles heel with you as Attorney General?
Colette, I want to make clear that Colorado believes in a Colorado for all. Whoever you are, whoever you love, my commitment is for you to be able to live as your best authentic self, free from discrimination, free from harm. There are efforts underway using the First Amendment to create exceptions to equal rights for all. This is an historic attack on our freedoms, on our civil rights. I make no apology for fighting for equal rights for all. And the threat that is now being mounted to create this exception where someone can say, if I have a First Amendment view, I can discriminate against other people, that's something that I worry about. Because we've made great progress on civil rights. I worked for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a civil rights icon. I will continue to stand on this ground and fight for equal rights for all.
Mr. Weiser, a quick follow-up after that. What do you have to say about the losses in those cases?
Well, I want to keep Senator Bennet in Washington, where he can help work on getting a Supreme Court that actually defends the Constitution that I believe in. And the losses in some of the recent cases, they are ignoring the evidence. They are moving legal challenges in directions I thought I would never see. And we need to get back to the Constitution that understands equal rights for all. A more inclusive we the people is what we're about.
And Mr. Bennet, you were mentioned in Mr. Weiser's response, so you do have 30 seconds for a rebuttal if you would like it.
Well, my rebuttal is that Donald Trump is a glaring civil rights violation. And we're living in a gilded age where too many people think the American dream is out of reach for them. And those are the kind of moments in American history when we have lost civil rights. And we have recently lost a woman's right to choose because of Donald Trump's out-of-touch view of our Constitution. And one of the reasons I'm fighting for governor is that I think that Colorado can be a bulwark against the string of our civil rights.
All right. Thank you. And this next question is for you specifically, Mr. Bennet. I'd like to paraphrase a question that we've received from several Coloradans. Mr. Bennet, why are you leaving the Senate when we, these voters, worked so hard to get you there?
Well, I appreciate it. I'm very grateful that Phil Weiser has become such a fan of my Senate service, which he has ever since I started running for governor. But I believe that the battle in America right now is at the state level and at the municipal level. I have a very unusual set of experiences. Somebody who's worked in the private sector, turning around failing companies, worked as superintendent of the Denver Public Schools, and has spent 3 terms in the Senate in some of the major fights that we've had over the last 16 years. I want to bring all of that experience back to Colorado to stop coloring inside the lines. We have to make tough decisions. We have to begin telling the truth. We have to begin focusing on the issues that our kids are facing if they're going to have any hope at all of living in this state, and if we're going to restore the democracy that Phil and I care so deeply about. The answer for that is not going to come from Washington, D.C. The answer from that is going to come from Colorado, and that's why I'm running for governor.
And a follow-up to that question, Mr. Bennet. If you're elected, you will pick your successor in the Senate. Voters will effectively be choosing 2 offices. Who's on the short list to replace?
There is nobody on the short list. I think that we have an incredible bench in Colorado of young talent. I know that there are people, maybe my opponent, who wishes that I would just die on the floor of the U.S. Senate, but I think there are too many people that have pursued that. And instead, what we have in Colorado is the chance to have the most experienced leadership in our governor's office in generations, and the opportunity to have a new generation of leadership in the Senate. I think that's a big win for Colorado.
Yeah, we will give you a rebuttal in 1 second, okay. Mr. Weiser. But real fast, Mr. Bennet, primary ballots go out June 8. Do you commit to telling voters any names by then? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. All right, and Mr. Weiser, a rebuttal?
Well, I want a rebuttal as much as a prayer that Michael lives a long and happy and healthy life.
I appreciate
I
that.
want him in the Senate. He is young for Senate standards, and he is about to have 17 years seniority taking over a committee this fall. When you ask what's best for Colorado, look at the experience. I've had executive experience at the state level now for 8 years. I know our state government inside and out, have plans on everything from public safety to water to working with Indian tribes. Michael Bennet knows the Senate inside and out. That's where he can do the best good for Colorado.
Could I have my 30 seconds, folks?
Sure, you can have your 30
seconds. Thank you
seconds.
very much. Nobody knows Colorado better than I do in the time that I've been here. And I would say, with respect to Phil's observation about his closeness to being an insider in the state government, I don't feel, and I'm speaking as a citizen of Colorado, I don't think the state government has done very much to solve our housing crisis, to solve our child care crisis, to solve our health care crisis, to solve the fact that for the first time in a generation, businesses are moving out of our state because they can't succeed as well in Colorado. We need new leadership to help address those issues.
All right, our next topic is Colorado's relationship with the federal government. This comes from a viewer, and Mr. Weiser, that is, you'll answer this first.
Jill Ireland, Aurora, how does your record show that you will protect Colorado from Trump's attacks, given that Colorado is clearly a target?
Mr. Weiser.
Jill, I appreciate the point, and I want to be very clear that as an Attorney General, I've led with moral clarity and with principle. I am never going to give any quarter to this bullying, lawless efforts. I know the law. I've stood up for the law, and that means Colorado has gotten back $1.2 billion this administration would have kept from us. It means we've gotten SNAP benefits for 600,000 Coloradans, suing the Agriculture Secretary twice. I mentioned Senator Bennet voted for her, still defends her. I also stood up for immigrants and making sure that victim services that were going to be taken away, preying on immigrants, were restored. We are at a time that we need consistent moral clarity and leadership that says, not on our watch. If you try to take away our rights, you harm us, you're going to have to go through me. I'm always going to fight for Colorado.
And Mr. Bennet, on this question from Jill Ireland of protecting Colorado from...
Yeah, and Ryan, you described it as our relationship with Donald Trump. I don't think we have a relationship with Donald Trump. I think he's beating on the state of Colorado. And if you elect me governor, we are going to ensure that Donald Trump can't send federal agents wearing masks into our state. Donald Trump can't send federal agents without warrants to beat on doors in our state. Donald Trump will not be able to separate children from their parents in our state. And we need somebody in this job who's not only fighting Donald Trump, and I've shown that I have fought him on everything from ICE to healthcare to Bobby Kennedy's idiotic vaccine denial, and have beaten him on public lands. We need somebody who's got a vision of the future, because I refuse to allow Donald Trump to define the future of Colorado or define our children's future. And if you elect me governor, we will not allow that to happen.
And we got a lot of viewer questions on this topic, so we figured we'd let our second question on this subject go to another viewer. Mr. Bennet, you'll be answering this one first.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Deanna Church from Boulder, Colorado. And I would like to ask the candidates what their plans are for protecting the people of Colorado from the excesses of ICE under the current administration.
Well, is that my
Yes,
question?
it is.
So I just answered that, Deanna, and I appreciate it. I think we have to fight to make sure that Donald Trump is not violating our civil rights with ICE in the manner that I just described. I also think it's really important for everybody to know that when there was a lawsuit brought by 20 of the Democratic attorneys general in the first Trump administration, Phil Weiser was nowhere to be found on a lawsuit that concerned the separation of children from their families at the border. And that is not the kind of leadership that we need. Instead, we need somebody who's going to stand up to Trump, make sure that ICE is not violating our civil rights by wearing masks, by not having warrants, by banging on doors without those warrants, separating kids from their families, and at the same time is making sure that we are pushing forward on the affordability crisis that Colorado is facing. We have to do both things at the same time.
Mr. Weiser.
Deanna's question is really important, and it's important to me. And I want to be very clear, particularly with Senator Bennett's jab here, that protecting immigrants is something I'm always going to do because I am a first-generation American. My mom was born in a Nazi concentration camp on April 13th, 1945, and 5 days later, U.S. Army soldiers from the 3rd Armored Division liberated my grandmother and my mom, and the United States of America welcomed them, and they've been able to live the values of freedom and opportunity for all. That's why I take rights for immigrants so personally. That's why I'm committed to protecting due process of law, which means no one can be deported without having a hearing and a chance to make their case. I set up a portal in my office that if we have evidence of ICE breaking people's constitutional rights or harming people like we saw in Minnesota, we'll take action. That's the type of leadership I'm going to bring to protect immigrants fairly and under the rule of law.
May I have a rebuttal?
You may, Mr. Bennet.
Thank you so much. I appreciate very much Phil's family history. It's not dissimilar from my own. My mother was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1938, the year before Hitler invaded and destroyed her entire family except for herself and her parents and an aunt. And tragically, she was separated from her parents for 3 years as a child. When Donald Trump was separating children from their parents at the border in the first Trump administration, my mother called me and said, I see myself in these children. That's what I see as well, and that's why I've always fought to reunite them.
Can I respond?
No, I'd like to move on, given the limited time and many questions. To the economy, gentlemen. Why are you the better candidate to create lucrative jobs in Colorado? And Mr. Weiser, you're first on this one.
Let me start with my career working with our entrepreneurial community. I founded Startup Colorado, helping startups all across Colorado. An entrepreneurial network helping companies scale up. I've been working at the state level, realizing that we've got some challenges. How do we get the regulatory environment right? I often say regulation should be like garlic in cooking. Just enough, but never too much. We've got work to do. I offered a plan recently on my website talking about how we can help build companies here. Because we're losing population right now, and we need to make sure Colorado's a state where people know this is a great place to build a company. And part of that secret sauce we have that I've been a part of throughout my career is a collaborative spirit. We ask, how can I help? Rooting for each other to succeed. I've been doing this work in the entrepreneurial community. I will be the chief marketing officer for Colorado, making the case for companies, supporting companies, building a great ecosystem.
And Mr. Bennet, to this same question about bringing lucrative jobs to Colorado.
Thank you, Ryan. It's a critically important question because we are losing lucrative jobs today in the current environment in Colorado. This is one of the reasons why I decided to run. I have an unusual background. I have been a school superintendent, but I'm also the only candidate in this race who's actually been in business. In fact, the last deal I did was put together the largest motion picture exhibitor in the world, Regal Cinemas, United Artists, and Edwards Theaters. And I'm deeply concerned as a citizen of this state when we're losing business because nothing we can do for our kids is possible if we don't have a growing economy. And too many businesses in Colorado feel like they're being strangled by red tape here. And other states are competing effectively with Colorado. There is no state that's got a better lineup when it comes to aerospace, space, energy, technology, agriculture. We have to build on those strengths as a state, and as your governor, I will.
All right. Thank you. Moving on, but speaking of regulations, some of the flashier new industries, data centers and artificial intelligence, are in the Wild West, regulation-wise. Should Colorado do more or less there? Mr. Bennet, your answer first,
I
please.
think Colorado should have the strongest common sense regulations in this country when it comes to data centers and when it comes to artificial intelligence as well. We've got to be an economy, as I just said, that is dynamic, that's on the cutting edge. And at the same time where we're protecting consumers and we're protecting people's civil rights. I believe in Colorado. I believe in the imagination of this state, and I think that we can come together and lead the country. I don't want us waiting for other states. We can lead when it comes to innovation, and we can lead when it comes to making sure consumers are protected. So I think that this set of issues, which has divided, some people in the legislature and where the Attorney General has kind of been back and forth on this issue, I think we have the chance together to unify our state to be on the cutting edge.
All right, Mr. Weiser.
As Attorney General, I've had the chance to develop a very clear approach here, which is I want to create space for responsible companies to develop, and I want to protect consumers. Let's talk about how we do both. I helped forge a Colorado Privacy Act that had an exemption, so small companies didn't have these burdens. That's the type of smart regulation I want to build. I want to make sure we're effectively protecting kids growing up from the harms of social media. Our kids are being preyed on right now. They're getting notifications and alerts going down dark holes, and our kids have an easier time to buy guns or fentanyl on social media than they can find a job. We've got to do something about that. And AI chatbots that kids are turning to more and more in ways that are harmful. As for data centers, we can come up with smart policies that make sure that when we have them, consumers aren't picking up the bag for that, making sure it's clean energy and that it works for communities. This is the type of leadership I'll bring as your next governor.
Let's head to a topic we also heard a lot about from many viewers, all three of our different organizations, how expensive it is to live here. Here's one of those viewer questions, and Mr. Weiser, you'll be answering this first.
Brandon McKinley, Denver. I lived in an apartment owned by an out-of-state corporate landlord, and after asking them to fix things in the building, they raised our rent by 30% and it forced us to move. If you were elected governor, would you commit to overturning the ban on local rent stabilization?
Brandon, I want to start with your experience and how many stories like yours I've heard. How many renters have been preyed on. I have gone to bat for renters again and again in the courts, in the legislature, taking on companies like out-of-state corporate landlords who have these junk fees that are tricking people. Like when you move out, they say, here's your moving out fee, and you were never told there was going to be one. That's not okay. I've gotten consumers and renters back millions of dollars. There are these major corporate entities trying to fix prices using algorithms. I push for legislation to address that. I'm taking on the companies doing it in court. As for whether or not you want to have some type of rent stabilization, I have to say, let's be careful that it could backfire and not to jump into something that could actually be counterproductive.
Mr. Bennet.
I think we do have to fight the really unfair aspects of corporate ownership of housing in Colorado and all across the country. But I also think we have to build more housing in Colorado. When I was superintendent of schools in Denver, I did faculty meetings every day, and I almost never met a teacher who didn't live in Denver. That was one of the awesome things about teaching in Denver. You could live there as well. Today, there are teachers all over Colorado who can't afford housing anywhere in our state, and in fact, can only get housing if they win a housing lottery. There are teachers in El Paso County who are going to food banks at night to feed their own children because we are paying our teachers so poorly and because housing is so expensive. We have to build more starter homes in Colorado. We have to build more condominiums in Colorado. If the next generation of Americans and of Coloradans and of working people cannot afford to own starter homes in our state. We're going to lose them from our state.
Now, Mr. Bennet, I did not hear a clear answer on if you would commit to overturning the ban on local rent stabilization. Can you give me a yes or a no on that?
Well, you didn't get one from Attorney
Mr.
General
Weiser
Weiser,
said we should be careful.
I
Would
heard
you
it.
fall
I heard
in
the-
that camp
I heard
as
the
well,
answer.
or?
I agree with him that we should be careful. I'd also say that I don't want to rule anything out on the way to trying to make sure that we are serious about the fact that our children believe at this point in Colorado that we are unwilling to make room for them in this state. And I don't care whether you're the most conservative person in our state or the most liberal. If our kids can't afford to live here, we are failing them. We have a moral obligation to them. That's why we can't keep coloring inside the lines. We actually have to make hard choices in this state. And as your governor, I will use the bully pulpit to make sure that we're not just talking about it, we're fixing it.
And now we'll move on to the state budget. Mr. Bennet, you will answer this first. Medicaid costs have exploded. Experts point to 3 levers to control that cost. You can cut eligibility, you can cut coverage, or you can cut how much healthcare providers are paid. How will you approach the problem of Medicaid swallowing up ever more of the budget?
Well, I think we should focus on patients and doctors and less on insurance companies and venture capital firms. And I believe what we should do is make sure that we are focused on primary care, the opportunity for people to take better care of themselves at the outset, to get labs, to have annual exams, by the way, to make sure that they have access not just to physical health care, but mental health care, not just for themselves, but for their children as well. We are facing a ridiculous 9% increase projected in the Medicaid budget over the next 10 years every year. And I think the only way to do that is by dramatically transforming the way Medicaid is administered in this state. I don't believe the current administration in Colorado has done a very good job administering Medicare. And if I'm elected governor, we will transform it. And the rest of the country will look to Colorado for leadership.
Mr. Weiser?
In Colorado, we don't administer Medicare. That's a federal issue. We administer Medicaid. And we need leadership of the type that I can bring that gets to the underlying costs, driving up healthcare costs. I know about this because I hear it from consumers who are preyed on when often they want to get healthy, but it's often a sick care system and people trying to make money and saddling them with medical debt. I hear about this from my wife, Dr. Heidi Wald, who's the physician, who says we want to be in an environment that patients are getting the care they deserve, where you don't have private equity rolling up and monopolizing practices. I took on such a matter. And we don't have big pharma jacking up prescription prices so that patients are making terrible decisions between the drugs they need or whether they can even buy food. We have work to do. I've been taking on these companies who've been preying on people, working to build a better, fair healthcare system. I'll do that as your governor as well.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Now we'll talk about how we get around Colorado. Here's another viewer question. Mr. Weiser, you will answer it first.
Molly McKinley, Fort Collins. Given that there's abundant research that suggests that highway expansion only creates more traffic and transportation is a top contributor to air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, particularly on the Front Range, do you support highway expansions like I-270 and Pena Boulevard?
I believe deeply, and Molly, it's important to know, I don't think this has to be an either-or situation. We're looking at Pena Boulevard, and there's a lot of traffic on it, which means how do we get more people taking trains or buses? I'm all for that, but also recognizing how people are showing up. The leadership I can bring on transportation is to make sure that we're scaling up what's working. We're making sure that we're building the roads we need, and we're building rail. There's great opportunities that we're set to be able to execute on. We need to make sure we do it right. Coloradans deserve smart growth. That means we think about transportation connected to how people live. This is the type of leadership, collaborative leadership, working with local government that I've been doing and I'm ready to do to serve you well as your next governor.
Mr. Bennet.
Thank you. Molly, I didn't hear an answer on Pena Boulevard, but I would support the expansion of it. I also think it's critically important for us to treat our roads and bridges and transportation and our transit system together as a unified system, which I don't think we're doing today in Colorado. We are pitting those two things against each other in the legislature, and that makes no sense to taxpayers. That makes no sense to Coloradans. Under my administration, we treat it the way citizens in Colorado look at it, which is as a unified system. It is also another example of why we have to take on the constitutional budgetary constraints that are affecting Colorado, because frankly, we are not able to keep up with the investments we need to make in our roads, in our bridges, in our transit system because of the requirements of Tabor. And this is another place where that is causing huge problems for our state.
I feel like I should follow up there. Mr. Weiser, if you were elected governor, would you expand Pena Boulevard, that artery to the airport?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I don't think it's an either or proposition, Molly.
All right, yes on both accounts. I think it's a good segue to our yes or no round robin questions. So please answer.
I've been waiting for this all.
So have we.
Yeah.
I'm excited, you're excited, Senator.
Thank you.
So please only answer yes or no. You may do so at the same time, and if we have to referee, we can. Starting with this, would you support Colorado redistricting ahead of the 2028 election?
Yes.
Yes.
Was Tina Peters' sentence too harsh, as the sitting governor has said?
No.
No way.
Should Colorado continue overriding local control to build more housing?
There's a better way.
Yes or no?
There's a better way.
Yes or no?
Yes, there can be appropriate
Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes or no to the current path
Was that
of overriding local
I
zoning?
would say no to the current path.
Yeah,
no to the current path. Mr. Weiser?
Not the current path goes too hard.
So we've got two no's
Two
on
no's.
the current path there. Should nuclear energy be part of Colorado's energy future?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you support exempting education funding from the Tabor cap as the legislature has proposed?
Yes.
Yes.
And then lastly, would you wear sneakers with a suit?
No.
No.
Sorry, Jared.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Two no's there. And it
All right,
seems like
very good. That was very entertaining. Thank you very much. So we're going to take a short break, and when we return, the candidates will have the opportunity to ask each other a question. Stick around, back in 3 minutes. I feel like everybody's looking for All right, welcome back. We're going to begin the second half of tonight's Democratic gubernatorial primary debate, giving the candidates the opportunity to ask their opponent a question. We're going to go in alphabetical order. And if I remember how the song goes, B comes before W. So, Mr. Bennet, you will ask the first question. Mr. Weiser, you will have 60 seconds to answer, and then you may ask your question.
Thanks for having me the chance to give you the question, Phil, which is, I guess I would ask, when you were saying that you would take the first Trump administration back in a heartbeat because it had restraints, I wonder who you were thinking about. Were you thinking about people like Stephen Miller? Were you thinking about people like Rudy Giuliani? In my view, that administration was the most lawless administration in American history and demanded a different approach than the one that you took.
I agree. The first Trump administration was the most lawless administration in history until the second Trump administration. And then some of us got the memo. It was Project 2025, and it outlined all the harmful ways, all the illegal ways this administration would go after things near and dear to us. Clean energy, harm to immigrants, taking on food assistance from vulnerable Coloradans, mental health services in schools, AmeriCorps, and so much more. All of those attacks came in the second term, and it came with a memo, Project 2025, which apparently you didn't get because you voted for more of Trump's cabinet than almost any Democrat in the U.S. Senate, going along with people who have done the harm. That's detailed in a site we just put up called BennetVotes.com. Do I ask my question?
Now you get to ask.
Great, I'll ask my question.
Can I reply? Because he mentioned me.
That is true.
Thank you. I, for the life of me, cannot understand even what you're talking about, Phil. Of course, I read Project 2025, but in the first Trump administration, we had January 6th. We had the taking away of Roe versus Wade. We had the Muslim ban. We had the separation of children from their parents at the border. What memo did you need to protect the children at the border that were being separated from their parents? That's the question that I would ask of our Attorney General.
I guess I just got a second question.
No, we're going to go ahead and move on. Mr. Weiser, you can ask your question,
please,
Mr.
Bennet.
All right, I'll first say before my second question, the architect of the separating families at the border was someone you voted for. This is getting to my second question. You voted for Chris Wright. You voted for Brooke Rollins, the head of energy, the head of agriculture. And with Chris Wright, you've said, I regret that vote. It was a mistake because he's done so much harm. My question is, Brooke Rollins tried to take away SNAP benefits twice from 600,000 Coloradans. I sued both times and won. She tried to fire firefighters last year from the Forest Service right before fire season. I sued her. We won. She's also attacked our schools, threatening the school lunch program to push this administration's culture wars. How much more damage does Brooke Rollins have to do before you say supporting her was a mistake?
I appreciate that question. So first of all, let me just say, unlike you, I'm actually capable of admitting when I'm wrong. Your position on the first Trump administration is reprehensible, and nobody in Colorado, at least nobody who's a Democrat, I think, shares the idea that there were guardrails and that it's become an excuse for, the political filing of cases later in your second administration is not lost on all of us. But second, unlike you, I said, yeah, Chris Wright, that was a mistake. He was from Colorado. I hope the fact that he was from Colorado would temper his worst judgments, and it didn't. And he's been a terrible cabinet secretary, and I should never have voted for him. With respect to Brooke Rollins, and I'm glad the Attorney General of Maryland sued her, and you joined the lawsuit that he brought, that the reason I voted for Rollins was that Colorado desperately needs the money and resources that the Forest Service provides when we're facing the kind of wildfire threat that we're facing, and that's why I voted for her. For the 1 millionth time.
No, I think that enough mud has been slung that you've both probably lost ground. In the first half, we asked how you differ from one another. I'm curious how your administration would differ most from that of Jared Polis. And Mr. Weiser, you can go first on this.
I mentioned before that I'm really concerned about our kids who have access to guns and fentanyl on social media so easy, it's like ordering a pizza. We wrote a report detailing this harm. I've been addressing the opioid crisis, brought back over $900 million by taking on Big Pharma to make sure that we can help address this crisis. Our kids are hurting. Social media is part of the problem. Kids are staying up all hours of the night, access to these dangerous drugs and guns, and they don't have access to jobs. We got a lot of work to do, and social media is part of the problem. I pushed an agenda, a bill that would regulate big tech companies who are engaging in this irresponsible conduct and make sure we could hold them to account. Jared Polis vetoed that bill. When I'm governor, I'll sign it.
Mr. Bennet, what is a point of departure between you and Mr. Polis?
I've spent my entire career building coalitions not to do easy things, but to do hard things. And I think Colorado desperately needs us to do hard things right now. We have an affordability crisis in this state, a cost of living crisis in this state that's literally driving families out of Colorado, that's literally driving businesses out of Colorado. And I think the current administration in Denver has done some good things, some things well. Jared expanded kindergarten, that was very important. Early childhood education, very important. But the fundamental issues that we're facing, what Colorado has to address over the next 10 years is that cost of living crisis and the fiscal crisis that we're facing as a state. And I believe that I bring the right combination of leadership to address that and the right disposition, which is one to engage everybody across our state, but make sure that we actually make the choices that we have to make rather than push it on to the next generation.
Thank you both. Our next topic is energy and the environment. As Colorado braces for a hot and dry summer, should I be paying for someone else's home insurance if they want to build in a fire or flood-prone area? And Mr. Bennet, you will go first.
I think a better question might be that whether Colorado should continue to be gouged by insurance companies as we are right now because of the fire risk that we're all facing. This is something the Western United States are going to have to face, and Colorado is going to have to face it too. It's one more rising cost that we're experiencing. And I will also say, just on the climate issue generally and on energy, I'm the only candidate in this race who has called for an economy-wide cap on emissions that will require polluters in Colorado to either stop emitting their pollution or pay a fee to be able to allow us to invest better in clean energy and in the transition that we need.
And Mr. Weiser.
You shouldn't have to pay, and the way we can avoid these rising home insurance premiums is to take on the risk to wildfires. And right now in Colorado, we're not doing that well enough. There's all this forest where you've got dying trees right now. And those are not only a risk to wildfires, they're a risk from a climate perspective. Because when you have forests go up in smoke, it emits carbon. I want to lean in, and we're going to plan a Colorado Corps, calling young people to service, scaling up our fire prevention efforts to take down this wood and to put it into biochar. Doesn't create carbon, it can actually be put into the soil and be regenerative. By taking proactive measures, by being a collaborator and problem solver on the ground, we can get to the root of the risk of wildfires and thereby prevent people from having to pay these premiums.
All right. Thank you. And to the Colorado River Compact, would you agree to mandatory cuts to Colorado River usage in dry years? Mr. Weiser, you first.
This is an important point. In dry years, we always have cuts because we don't have these big reservoirs, Lake Powell and Lake Mead. Part of the challenge with the Colorado River situation is lower basin states like Arizona have overused and drained down those reservoirs for years. We've got rights under the compact. We got to find a way under the law, working together to get to a fair resolution because we already take cuts. When there's less water, like this summer, we're using less. I've been leading on water as Attorney General through numerous efforts. We got to conserve more water. Xeriscape our lawns. Look to crops that use less water. Cover over ditches so they're not evaporating. Investing in water infrastructure. We got to reuse more water. So we're reusing water again and again and store it more smartly. We're going to have to make real changes. We're going to have to tighten our belt. Water is a precious commodity. It's our future in Colorado. We've got to lead on water the right way. I've got a plan on that. Please learn more about it.
Mr. Bennet.
I would never agree to mandatory cuts, and we can't do it. I mean, I was in Gunnison just a couple weeks ago, and up there were people talking about how, for the first time in their history, they're talking about what it will look like to have a Crested Butte economy without snow. This is how serious this is. And our reservoirs are already half empty. Our farmers and ranchers are already having to do without. So I believe Colorado is in a position where we have to be extremely protective of our water. I do not want this to be something that's decided by the federal government. I do not want this to be something that's decided by the Supreme Court. I think there's another thing that's best left to people that are political leaders than it is to lawyers for us to get to a solution. In the end, Colorado is going to have a system of voluntary conservation and investment in our infrastructure that works for us.
Thank you both. I also spoke with several people down in the southern part of the state who are especially concerned about this. Let's hear one of those questions now. And Mr. Bennet, you will answer this one first.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christy Nackard, and I live in Fremont County, Colorado. And my question is, Aurora and Colorado Springs are betting on water that they don't have, often from rural agricultural communities. What policies will you enact to stop buy and dry?
I will oppose all buy and dry in Colorado. I think Phil feels the same way. We know that there's some of the worst examples in our state's history of places where agricultural water has been given up for the purposes of the growth of suburbs or of cities, and I think that's been a tragic mistake. We do have to find a way as a state to come together on this issue, though. We have 6 million people in Colorado that face essentially the same fire risk, that face essentially the same drought risk. And I think if you're looking for a moment in American history to come together, it's around those issues. And building off those issues, I think together we can address the affordability crisis that Colorado is facing as well. There's no reason for us to accept the historic divisions when it came to our water, and there's no reason for us to accept the partisan divisions that we see as a nation either.
Mr. Weiser.
Christy, I appreciate the chance to talk to our farmers and to rural communities about my commitment on this issue. John Stolp, of blessed memory, gave me a lot of tutorial. He was Governor Hickenlooper's water advisor. He wrote the water plan about what it looks like to have this harmful buy and dry that happened in Crowley County. And that's why when there was a proposal, and it's still out there, to make some investors rich and move water from the San Luis Valley to the Front Range, I was the first elected official to say, over my dead body. That's not how we're going to manage water in Colorado. On the Capitol, there's actually a poem written by Thomas Farrell. It says, in Colorado is a land where life is inscribed in water. How we manage water says a lot about who we are. And here's what I say about who we are. All of us care about all of us. That's why I've taken such time to get to know rural communities, to make sure they know that I will fight for them on water and make sure we have smart, responsible policies going forward.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. This next question is for Mr. Bennet only. New York City mogul Michael Bloomberg is personally spending millions of dollars to support your candidacy. Why should Coloradans trust that your agenda is about them and not an out-of-state billionaire?
Well, I think Coloradans can look at the history in Colorado, and they'll see that I have fought for them at every turn. I fought for them when I got the child tax credit enacted that cut childhood poverty, not just in Colorado in half, but across the country in half. When I fought for 700,000 acres of public lands in our state. When I beat Donald Trump in his effort to sell off the public lands of Colorado. When I fought to ensure that our wind and solar industry were protected. When I have fought to make sure that the Shoshone water right, speaking of what Phil was just talking about, on the western slope of Colorado was protected. I put my record up against any statewide elected official in Colorado, and for that matter across the country. There's a reason why I've been willing to take on my own party at times when that's hurt. There's a reason why I was the first national Democrat to say that Joe Biden was going to lose in a landslide and should be replaced, and it's because I am representing the children that I work for in the Denver Public Schools and kids all over rural Colorado. That is why I'm running for governor, and that's the answer to your question.
Let's turn now to public safety. Flock cameras, they've been quite a hot topic lately. What guardrails should there be on law enforcement tapping into our license plate data? Mr. Weiser, you'll answer it first.
We need to make sure that the public knows, and it's not only flock cameras, there's lots of surveillance out there. What's being taped, who has access to it, how long is it stored, and is it secure? Flock cameras that ICE has access to, that's not okay. Flock cameras that is monitoring people going to an abortion clinic, that's not okay. Flock cameras are a tool. They need to be used appropriately. And we need those guardrails. This is a conversation now happening in Denver at the state capitol. I believe we can have responsible public safety that people believe in. And people know I can trust law enforcement. To build that trust takes a lot of work that I've been putting in and I'm committed to. If communities can't trust law enforcement, thinks they're being surveyed, thinks they're being mistreated, we don't have public safety. That's why building trust and appropriate guardrails are so important.
Mr. Bennet.
I agree largely with what Phil said. I think we're living in a moment when we have had a history in Colorado and across the country of division between community and law enforcement that's been really counterproductive in a lot of ways. And I think we've got to, those of us that are in public office, have a responsibility to try to bridge those gaps. Those of us who are citizens need to try to bridge those gaps. We still have, our violent crime rate in Colorado is still much too high from my vantage point. The crime rate in general is too high in Colorado, and we're not going to be able to solve that unless we do have trust between our law enforcement community and our broader community, and I will work to build that.
Thank you.
The Trump Justice Department sued Denver Tuesday over its assault weapons ban, and then sued Colorado over its large capacity magazine ban. The U.S. Supreme Court, meanwhile, is skeptical of laws it sees as infringing on the Second Amendment. So what, if any, firearm regulations does Colorado still need? Be specific with me, Mr. Bennet.
Well, we definitely need background checks in Colorado, but I think we need all the firearms restrictions that are on the books in Colorado. And I think the fact that the Trump administration is attacking the common sense regulations by our state and by the city and county of Denver to get these weapons of war off our streets is just one more disgraceful attack by Donald Trump on not just blue states, but the blue state of Colorado. We need a governor who's going to fight back when he's doing that kind of stuff and call the question. Not just because we're going to beat Trump right now, and fight Trump right now, which we need to do, but because we want to live in a country where our future is not defined by Donald Trump, where our children's future is not defined by Donald Trump. And rational laws like the ones that are on the books in Colorado right now actually will become the law of the land again, instead of just fodder for Donald Trump's attack on one more blue state.
Mr. Weiser, firearm regulations Colorado still needs.
I want to first note, Ryan, you mentioned this lawsuit, how outrageous it is. The lawsuit is based on civil rights authority, and it's attacking our ability to keep ourselves safe. Ryan, the way I decide what firearm regulations we need is a public health mindset. When I was growing up, the #1 way young people could die is car accidents. Gun violence is now #1. Fentanyl and other drugs is #2. Car accidents, distant third. I'm going to keep looking at what can save lives. The reason that we worked, for example, in Colorado on a red flag law is I and others ran in 2018 saying we need this law that'll help remove firearms from people who are a significant risk themselves or others. I also have made sure we're implementing that law, and we still have work to do. So as I answer your question, Ryan, I'm going to keep this public health mindset. How do we save lives? And we got to look not just at what laws we need, but how we implement them. I've been doing it so well. Colorado Ceasefire endorsed my campaign to be governor.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to answer our questions.
And that doesn't exhaust all of our questions, but it does exhaust our time.
That's right.
So Shannon, we'll send it over to you.
So that was the final question from the moderators tonight. So now it is time for closing statements from the candidates. Now, again, we flipped a coin at the beginning before everybody got here, and we're going to begin with Mr. Weiser. You'll have 60 seconds each.
Thank you all for this important conversation. Thank you, viewers, for watching. It's important to get a sense of the candidates and what they can bring. I want to start with my why. I mentioned my grandmother surviving the Holocaust, giving birth to my mom in a concentration camp, having my mom liberated by U.S. Army soldiers and coming to America, believing in our values of freedom and opportunity for all. Those values and our constitutional principles guide me. And every time I'm up against the Trump administration acting lawlessly and harming Colorado, I ask 2 questions. Did they break the law? And are they harming Colorado? If the answer is yes and yes, I sue. That's why I've had to sue 64 times and counting, doing my job, defending the people of Colorado. I'm also in this race because I love my kids and I love all of our kids, and they are hurting. And I want to fight for their future, a future they can afford to live here, a future they've got good opportunities, and a future where they feel a sense of belonging and connection. We've got work ahead in Colorado. I'd be honored to have your vote. Thank you for paying attention.
All right, Mr. Weiser, thank you. Mr. Bennet, your closing statement, you have 60 seconds.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Thanks to the panel. Thanks to Phil for being here. I said at the outset that I moved here following my wife, Susan, to build a life, and we were able to build that life in Colorado and raise our 3 daughters here. And I am deeply, deeply worried, as I think people all across Colorado are, that our kids are not going to be able to afford to live here. And they're worried about that as well. And we have got to dig deep to make the hard decisions that are required to do this. I have led very difficult organizations throughout my life. I have fought really difficult political battles throughout my life, and I've always stood for the truth because I think that is the way we're going to be able to move our country forward. That's the way we're going to be able to move Colorado forward. And I've said a couple times tonight in this debate, I do not want our future to be defined by Donald Trump. I do not want our children's future to be defined by Donald Trump. And I will say to you tonight, Colorado, I need your support in this race to make sure that our future is not defined by Donald Trump.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your time and for making the case of why you think Coloradans should vote for you. I certainly hope voters found this helpful tonight. Now, a week from today, Denver 7, the Denver Post and Colorado Public Radio will host a Republican gubernatorial debate between State Senator Barbara Kirkmeyer and State Rep Scott Bottoms. That is May 14th, 6 o'clock, right here on Denver 7. So this concludes our debate. Thank you to our well-behaved studio audience and to you at home or wherever you are for watching.